Hey, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, I could be better, but last night I had internet issues while watching the Secret Show, so um, that kind of put a damper on things. But it got resolved. It got resolved finally for the better.
Good.
So yeah, you know, actually, it was kind of a, and I can say this, I'm not monetized yet. It was kind of a clusterfuck what I went through last night, with a little bit of sleep or what have you. I managed to take a kind of a power snooze earlier, so grabbed a quick bite to eat, and hopefully I'll be all good and refreshed and all that. So
Good.
yeah. So how's your day? Oh, I have some good news. My sound is working. Yay! All
Good.
right. Yes, that's very good. That's very good. So so how's your day going?
It's good. It's cold. It's very cold today. It's raining, so and I'm outside because I can't live stream inside the house. So you will be hearing rain the whole time, either rain or hail, and it's
Oh,
been interesting. I'm up in the mountains, and we're on our third atmospheric river right now. So
oh, so
up
that's
in
what that sound was. Oh, I was kind of wondering what's that sound?
oh yeah, it's rain. It's
Oh,
definitely the rain. It's not.
oh, no problem. Okay, all right. Well, now let me just remind everybody here real quick that to hit that like button, hit that notification bell, and follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter and Facebook, and likewise do the same for Jimmy. I will leave her Twitter and YouTube information on the description box below. And we need to support independent media because corporate media, of course, has nothing at all to offer us, except more of the same, which is the problem. So it's up to us to inform the public to the best of our ability. Because if we don't, nobody will. So anyway, let's see. I guess the thing to do is to get started on the first story, and it well, oh, hello.
You're good. I'm gonna try to keep muting myself because of the rain.
Okay, no problem. Yes, well, regarding my internet connection issues that I was having last night, I had to go to Denny's and all that. I was doing some editing work, and I was taking a little breaks here and there to go on Twitter to see what was going on and with other things, and I found out. Well, I found out. Well, I'll have to show everyone here what happened, and I just couldn't believe it. Just couldn't believe what I saw. And if I could find the well, actually, let me try to find it. Well, actually, I'll show this meme that somebody made as a response to it. I was looking for shoe on head, and found out that her account doesn't exist anymore. And in regard to that account not existing, somebody popped up this meme here. Apparently, this was on her Patreon page. It says, "Buy my silence, and I will shut the fuck up," for apparently $50,000 a month. So I don't know. I don't know. People are putting that up there as a joke, and that's what happened. Or and if that's the case, somebody hates somebody so much that they're going to pay them $50,000. I like to find out who this person is, so they can tell me to do the same. Because if I'm being paid $50,000 a month, I would certainly be behind the scenes, making noises in different ways. Any thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, there comes a point of corruption, but man, $50,000 a month, I'd shut the fuck up too. For
Yeah,
sure.
can't really blame her. I mean, for that. And I know she's done well for herself over the years, which is why she doesn't make that many videos. It's kind of a hobby for her at this point. But But anyway, she's kind of an interesting person because she's kind of misunderstood by a lot of people. I understand her, but a lot of people, there's a lot of people that really hates her guts, and there's a lot of people that like her too. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. She's definitely an acquired taste is what I would call it, you know. But I really actually personally like her a lot. She's her section is gray instead of black and white so much, and I really like the way that she thinks. I wish she would do more work.
Well, she pokes fun at herself, but I mean, not in a degrading way. But she has a sense of humor, and I mean, she really is funny, and all of that, and
She
everything.
caters to that younger crowd for sure.
Oh yes, and so since I don't know if that means she's not going to be on YouTube anymore. I don't know what that means, but this might even be a hoax. This $50,000 a month, because I kind of find it hard to believe somebody would hate somebody so much that they will go and pay somebody $50,000 a month to, that would be like I don't know. I'm just thinking of all kinds of analogies there, but anyway,
It's interesting to know. So her Twitter, she doesn't have a Twitter anymore. It's gone.
There's no more Shoe on Head Twitter right at this point.
That's why I was wondering why I haven't seen her on my feed in a while.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah, I was kind of shocked myself. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go play a video from a year and a half, almost going back 2 years. Is one of my favorite videos because it did get a little bit of a debate and was a hot issue at the time, and it should still be a hot issue because unfortunately, I mean, well, you understand this issue, I understand this issue, and a lot of our friends understand this issue, but we have people who are kind of on our side on a lot of issues that don't understand this issue, and that is the CIA. And the CIA being supposedly woke and all of that. I mean, or aware, awake, or I
mean, there could be like a conspiracy there with her not having a Twitter anymore, because right before she stopped tweeting, she was really in the dirt with. She's the one that broke the Balenciaga kid ad S&M bondage thing. Like, she's the one that broke it. She was the first one to talk about it. But on Twitter, man, there were people that were coming after her so bad and so hard, and she was just holding her ground about it. And then I just stopped watching, or she just stopped showing up on my feed. So she was all up in that Balenciaga ad stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting is that she gets it from both ends, because she's getting it from people. There are people out there that are saying that this is just a front and she's part of whatever is going on, and this is just a front. And then there are other people saying, oh, she's a secret bigot, and this is how she's a pipeline toward the alt-right. I'm like, gosh, when people make extreme accusations, and it's like conflicting extreme accusations, it tells everybody that those extreme accusations are going to pretty much be wrong on all fronts. Right. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and play a video that she did almost 2 years ago, that I kind of found humorous, and I get just kind of wondering your take on this. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll put it on high speed, 1.5, because for the reasons that was stated in the recent meetings, is a good idea. So I've been making that a habit for pretty much everybody. So we'll get started right now.
The CIA, best known for torture, assassinations, drug trafficking, mind control, various human rights violations, and editing their own Wikipedia articles to make themselves look better. I just found that one out today. It's bad, but it's a new era, and the CIA wants to turn over a new leaf, a more modern, progressive leaf. That's right, we're gonna talk about that ad. You don't know what I'm talking about? Run, go, turn this off, leave now while you can. Stay innocent. There's one thing. If you don't like it, I was about to say I don't care, but if you care. I woke up the other day to hundreds and hundreds of tweets, emails, messages telling me about this new woke CIA ad. And I watched it, and it was bad. Not only do they have one ad, they have an entire YouTube channel. That's right, the CIA has a YouTube channel. Better yet, it is monetized. The CIA can monetize their channel, but God forbid any of us talk about politics. So we are going to watch some of the CIA's propaganda together. So I want you to experience this first one. Same way I experienced it. I'm just going to let it play out. You're just going to watch. Take your eyes open. Sit down.
When I was 17, I quoted Zora Neale Hurston's How It Feels to Be Colored Me in my college application essay. At 17, I had no idea what life would bring, but Zora's sentiment articulated so beautifully how I felt as a daughter of immigrants then and now. I can wax eloquent on complex legal issues in English while also belting Guayaquil de mis amores in Spanish. I can change a diaper with one hand and console a crying toddler with the other. I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional, but my existence is not a box-checking exercise. I am educated, qualified, and competent, and sometimes I struggle. I struggle feeling like I could do more, be more to my two sons, and I struggle leaving the office when I feel there's so much more to do. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, but at 36, I refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be. I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather than intoxicate people with my effort, my brilliance. I am proud of me, full stop. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA.
Okay. So, what do you think about that CIA ad?
Man, it makes me sad. It really makes me sad and upset because to that lady, that's her story. Her story is legit. She feels this way, and people should be proud of her for achieving so many successes and getting a great job for the rest of her life. On the other hand, it's just really, really upsetting the fact that the CIA is using her story as a virtue signal to recruit people into what they're doing, so that way they can keep spying on us and using these horrible technologies against us, also while failing audits every year. So that's why it's really hard and it's upsetting, but it's also like great for her. I'm so proud of her. I'm happy for her. Like I said, on the other hand, it just sucks.
Well, it's kind of interesting because everything you just said, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. But there are people on the right that hated this woke directions the CIA is going into, and not that I support the CIA, and because they've done a lot of evil in this world. But it is probably a smart move. Even in a way, it's a smart move because a more diversified CIA makes them more sophisticated and efficient to do what they need to do around the world. Even though it is not for good, but it makes them actually even more effective. But I don't believe that the CIA should exist. And I mean, I actually, if I had it my way, I would abolish the CIA completely because they're not a force for good in the world. And so, on the other hand, we have people who are progressive that they don't mind CIA doing evil as long as it's all about diversity. But the right, they want the CIA to be this kind of like 1950s kind of 1950s or 1960s, and everybody looks like Race Bannon from Johnny Quest or something like that. And that's what the right wants the CIA to be, and to go and topple down left-wing governments and to prop up right-wing dictatorships and so everybody has it wrong in the mainstream political arena here in the United States, or the landscape, shall I say? That's what I meant to say, landscape. So, anyway, I just think it's hilarious, the commercial, this ad for it. So, Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Arena was a good one too.
I guess arena and landscapes, they both fit. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll let her continue, and because she gets very sarcastic.
This is literally the more female drone pilots joke. This is the meme. This is the sacred meme. This is the epitome of everything I've made fun of for the past 5 years. Satire is dead. God is dead. So let's go through this, shall we? Let's go through this point by painful point.
I'm a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial.
Pause. Cisgender. Why did they throw cisgender in there? Are most people working at the CIA trans? It really does feel like they're just like throwing in buzzwords that they've just like heard people say before. Like they've heard in left-wing spaces. They're just spewing it all out there. Like, yeah, you like that girl fuck gatekeep? Yeah!
Who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder.
I'm a cisgender millennial with anxiety disorder. She's just like me! I have anxiety. I have depression. I have ADHD. I'm bisexual. I'm Italian. That counts as a disability, right? Just the person we were looking for to overthrow a democratically elected leader in a foreign country. You got moxie, kids. The CIA has probably given like hundreds of people anxiety and PTSD, but sure.
I refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be.
That's right, the patriarchy cannot hold you back. The patriarchy did not hold back Gina Haspel, who was head of the CIA from 2018 to 2021. The same Gina Haspel, who was the head of a torture prison in Thailand. The same girl boss Gina Haspel, who destroyed 92 interrogation tapes. Yes, queen.
I can change a diaper with one hand.
And waterboard an Iraqi with the other. I'm unapologetic. You better be apologetic. I have friends who are from countries your organization has disappeared people from. Okay, so that one was bad, but it's not even the only one. There are others.
Blacks in government is open to any agency officer who wants to be a part of what we call big.
Blacks in government. Not even black people, not African Americans, not people of color, blacks. Every time people say like blacks or white, it just sounds like old school race. Like it reminds me of my grandma, the Orientals.
The African American presence here at CIA is deep and rich, and I would encourage
She
anyone
ain't lying.
to know something about that history.
Such as introducing the black community to crack cocaine in the 80s. Anyway.
I wanted to be a librarian the first time I set foot in a library. I was always a little different, even at that age, and libraries offered a safe, quiet space where I could find tens of thousands of escapes into worlds of fantasy, mystery, and intrigue. After finishing college, I entered the workforce as a middle school librarian.
Oh my god, I don't care!
My favorite thing about CIA is that they encourage the out-of-the-box ideas that drive real progress.
Look, they literally have a game on the table called Spy Tricks. These people are ill.
Growing up gay in a small southern town,
Oh my god, he's gay. They're doing it again! They're doing it again! Why are they doing this? Why are you doing this?
imagine my surprise when I was taking my oath at CIA, and I noticed a rainbow on then-Director Brennan's finger.
Oh my god, this is literally the rainbow anti-homeless bench as a video.
Officers from the top down work hard to ensure that every single person, whatever their gender, gender identity, race, disability, or sexual orientation, can bring their entire self to work every day.
Wow, good for you guys. Have fun assassinating people. Gaily. The comments are turned off. The comments are turned off. The CIA can literally overthrow countries, but can't handle some YouTube comments. Cowards. Pussies.
I don't have a typical answer on why I joined the CIA. Admittedly, it wasn't a childhood dream of mine, nor does my college degree align with security.
Don't care, didn't ask. Plus, you're fed.
We've had several principals that were women, some of whom have asked why there aren't any more women on the lecture centers. I've been able to inspire not only women pursuing DPS, but also people who wouldn't normally consider themselves qualified to be a special agent.
This is the final stage of girl boss feminism. Late stage feminism. I'd rather just get assassinated. Right? Just take me out right now. Call me Fidel Castro. Take me the out. And don't miss this time. Look at her. She's like, target in sight. Shut it down.
I joined CIA almost straight out of college, when it can be a challenge to speak up when you're younger and adjusting to workplace norms, especially in such a unique environment. Then adding to that are the social challenges both women and people of color face. What is critical, and what gives me optimism that we are moving in the right direction, is that there are people here who recognize that and are holding CIA as an institution accountable for the diversity and inclusion that it champions.
That is what the CIA should be held accountable for. Diversity and inclusion. Not Iran, not Iraq, not Libya. God is testing me. We're so used to like corporations pandering like this, so it's just funny to see like the feds do it. Embarrassing, frankly. I'm just waiting for the other alphabet institutions to follow. Like, I can't wait for the ATF's woke recruitment ad. The patriarchy can't stop me from setting children on fire. I was absolutely assigned an NSA agent after I went to the January 6th rally. I honestly just feel bad for whatever guy got that job, or girl. Or I don't know, is the NSA as diverse as the CIA? Well, to the girl boss watching me through my webcam, solidarity, sister. This reminds me of when the US military was on Twitch trying to recruit people. This is like borderline predatory. Hello, fellow kids. This is the CIA trying to slap on like a happy face mask. This is a PR move. This isn't even I don't even think this is a recruitment video. This is just a PR move. This is a sad attempt to revamp their image. They even redid the logo. Like, look at this. What is this? A Joy Division album? This is them just being like, oh, everyone knows we killed JFK. I'm gay. F off. There are people online, like, dead-ass defending us. Like, oh, you're just laughing at a brown woman. Being proud of her accomplishments. Like, yeah, Karen. Yeah, sure, that's what we're laughing at. We're not laughing at the...
I'll tell you what. We'll just do this here. We'll have a little chat on that and go to the next video. So, what's your take on that?
I think she had a really good take on it. I really like what she had to say, especially with I totally got all the jokes that she was saying about it, all of it, man. She's got it. She's got it down, especially with the whole, oh no, they're going to find out that we killed JFK. Oh, we're gay. Like, she had that smack down. Like, good. She's correct. It was like a PR move that, they got to change face and update their look so that way they can get, newer, younger people. They don't care whether they're black, brown, straight, gay, or anything, as long as they've got more bodies to do things that they want them to do. So that way they keep getting more free government money.
That's true. And I think that's probably part of the reason why right-wing people are mad at the CIA and domestically, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the alphabet soup of agencies now. They're mad. They've been mad at these agencies since Bush and Cheney left office. I mean, now I'm not going to say they weren't diverse before, but now these days they're just like what they look at the U.S. government as their enemy, whereas at one time they look at the U.S. government as an entity to go after political people that they don't like, and that's because they're jealous. That's what they want. So they would like a throwback to that era, and and I wouldn't. I don't like it presently. I wouldn't want to throw back to that era. I say get rid of it as because I'm a civil libertarian. So and that's where I stand. I just don't like the government snooping in people's lives. Yeah, I want government to give people medical care for free. I don't want the government sitting there spying on all of us.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. My motto basically is, yeah, I demand free stuff and I demand free speech.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of millennials and Gen Zers that would love that to say that.
Maybe I will use, if I run for office, maybe I will, maybe I might make that as a campaign slogan.
That'd be awesome.
Free stuff and free speech.
Right.
Yeah. So let's go to the next story here. And, oh yes, let's do that. These two guys will be a guest tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. And that's Russell and Keaton from Due Dissidence. And I've been accused of talking about force the vote nonstop. And I told one of my friends, you only hear me talk about it a whole lot once a year, from like late December or sometime in December till maybe February. Then I kind of fade away from it. So because as far as I'm concerned, we Americans missed an opportunity that probably we'll never get again. So anyway, Keaton and Russell talks about Glenn Greenwald's take on this force the vote movement, and I think it's always good to share a story that has Glenn Greenwald in it, because Glenn Greenwald, kind of like you on Head, is kind of misunderstood these days. And I just I'm a little angry at some of the shit lives that likes to go and attack Glenn Greenwald. But anyway, we'll play this story right now. Give me a moment. We will set this thing up. Oh, okay. Looks like it's set up. Okay.
Radical right-wing fascist grifter Glenn Greenwald quote tweeted fellow right-winger fascist hyper-capitalist closeted red-brown alliance member Shama Sawant. He quote tweeted Shama Sawant, right-winger that he is. Shama put out a great tweet, as always, saying it's deeply unfortunate that it was the right wing who've shown how to fight for something in Congress. The Squad, also the Progressive Caucus headed by Jayapal, have utterly failed, refused to use their leverage to stand up to the Dem establishment and win any gains for working people. Glenn Greenwald, like I said, fascist that he is, right-winger that he is, quote tweeted her. In 2020, House progressives and the incredibly radical Squad had exactly the same opportunity as House conservatives had. House conservatives defied leadership to get major concessions to empower them and their agenda. House progressives did what they were told and got nothing. He goes on. This was a pretty good thread here. The reason Squad and House progressives never defy Pelosi or anyone else is because they have had a pathetic partisan media, the Young Turks and Sam Cedar, who defend their harmlessness and venerate partisan subservience. He then links to a thread by Brianna Joy Gray, rehashing the merits of forced to vote, which we got into a few days ago. If these Dem loyalists who pretend to be leftists or whatever had even the slightest integrity, they'd apologize. That's what we said a few days ago. Because Gates and company just proved how politics works when you care more about your constituents than head pats from the DNC. Months ago, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene used the leverage she had to make McCarthy acknowledge the power she had among their base and vow to respect it. That's why she was on board from round one of voting. Gates and company got real concessions that make the House way more democratic with vital reforms like this. That's using power. This was something that we didn't mention in our last video, which is a new church committee. Russell, do you want to explain to our audience what the first church committee was? And then we'll go back to this thread. I got to queue up a couple.
Okay. That's an interesting take. We'll continue with that in a moment. So, what's your take on this so far with regard to Glenn Greenwald and what he has to say about this force of vote situation?
Yeah, this is a hot topic right now because, or at least a hot button topic, because there's been recent fights on Twitter and stuff. Because it's almost, Jimmy Dore was right, and we should give him that credit. Obviously he deserves the credit for that. But then there's like people that are also on Twitter saying, he kind of, did some bad stuff, like, after the whole thing about Anna Kasparian and him, and that he's also friends with Nick Grania and the things that he did and not, holding him to account, being his friend. So I see like some of the fights that's going on back and forth. Like I do see how Jimmy deserves, the credit for that, but then I also see like how people can be upset and not want to give him the credit, which then it all boils down to as well, like, are you the kind of person that's going to be holding somebody accountable for being friends with somebody, like, you're guilty by association, or is that, are you not that kind of person as well? So I haven't really dipped my toes into all of that yet. I've just been kind of watching from the sidelines. Jimmy Dore is definitely right about force the vote. I think that the Republicans proved it for sure that it could happen and it should happen. And this is the way that democracy should be represented. And it's really crazy that Republicans, the supposed bad kids, the fascists, now your friend has to drink, that those are the words that are being called to them. Like that's what they're being called when they're the ones that are actually holding up real democratic action. So
Yeah, it's amazing that like for example, the sarcastic remark about right wing and fascist red brown alliance, and it's being thrown at people like Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore, and it's been thrown at some other folks on the left that people have always took it at face value. We're always on the left, and some people tell me, "Oh, you're just getting hung up on labels," and I know sometimes I get hung up on labels, and maybe it's something I need to work on, but words do have meanings, and so. Um, it's like you have people who are being called right wing who are to the left of people that being this kind of this thing since 2016 it happened before. You know, Hillary Clinton called Bernie Sanders. Well, she is sort of insinuated that Bernie Sanders was right wing, claimed that he was a sexist and he was racially insensitive when Bernie Sanders was getting arrested for in '63, protesting desegregation and fighting for reproductive rights and women's rights and gay rights before a lot of liberals got on board with this. Although Bernie Sanders is not the hero today that he was at one time, he gets credit for that, what he did in the past. But Hillary Clinton managed to call him right wing, and now it seems like a lot of people, the gatekeepers, have done the same thing on the independent media, the establishment side of it. Your TYTs and your Sam Cedars, and they're sitting there calling Jimmy Dore and calling Glenn Greenwald, calling Gray Zone, right wingers, and all of that, and because they just want to sit there and play nice with the Democrats when the Democrats have been Reaganized by Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. Anyway, just something I mean, I know I'm kind of all over the place, but that's how I see it. And for some reason, a lot of Americans can't, that I talk politics with, can't see it this way. They just always want to conflate Democrats as left. And if you think outside of that box, oh my God, you must be some kind of right winger. Right. Now, I've always criticized the Democrats from the left, and that's and that's where I think Glenn Greenwald is coming from too.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, let me scroll that back a couple of seconds there. We'll continue.
Church committee. Russell, do you want to explain to our audience what the first church committee was? And then we'll go back to this thread. I got to queue up a couple more things here.
All right. So the church committee was the culmination of a series of embarrassing revelations about how there were newspaper articles that came out in 1970, 1971, about how the FBI was spying on American citizens and spying on dissenting groups. But then in 1974, the legendary journalist Seymour Hersh revealed that the CIA was spying on American citizens, which is completely outside of their mandate. They're only supposed to be spying on foreign actors. That led to that plus Watergate led to the creation of the Church Committee, led by Senator Frank Church. And it investigated all of these abuses of power that were going on with the FBI and the CIA, including sending anonymous letters to Martin Luther King, trying to persuade him to kill himself, wiretapping people with absolutely no authorization, spying on women's groups who were up to talking about trying to overcome male domination in the professions. Just
MK
insane.
Ultra, Operation Mockingbird, those were all revelations, right? Of
MK Ultra, yeah. And I will tell you something I know because I run a tour called Weird New York, and this is my grand finale on it. There's a building here where the CIA had a safe house as part of MK Ultra from 1953 to 1966, where they recruited a guy out of the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms agent. They recruited him to dose people without their knowledge. They'd be lured up. He would pretend to be a painter or an artist. Very often they'd hire prostitutes. And the CIA was there behind two-way glass, and they'd film people after they were dosed usually with LSD, depending on what they were interested in. This went on for 13 years until the program was so rogue, the director of the FBI didn't know about it. It was only uncovered because the guy running the operation, George White, was a serious alcoholic, and the inspector general found the liquor bills and asked what program was costing this in liquor. That was how they uncovered the whole thing. So these were the kinds of things that came out in the church committee. Like, we did experiments on people as part of MK Ultra, worthy of the Nazis. We lobotomized people. We kept people in sensory deprivation for months on end. We administered shock treatment to one woman who later won a lawsuit for a year until she had to be toilet trained from scratch, because they wanted to know if you completely zapped someone's identity, if you brain damaged them that bad, if you could completely create a new personality on top, if you would be starting with a tabula rasa. These were things that we did. These are the intelligence services that the liberals are so eager to give more powers to and celebrate and platform. The ones that journalists today want you to celebrate, these criminals like John Brennan.
The norms and the institutions.
The norms and the institutions. The Patriot Act undid the results of the church committee. It was the church committee that created the FISA courts. Now, we still have the FISA courts, but they're really not doing their job at this point. They're much more toothless than they were after the church committee. What we've seen since the passage of the Patriot Act is predictably the intelligence services doing what they're going to do if you let them do it. They're going to start spying on Americans. They're going to start going after people for political dissent. That was what triggered the church committee, because they looked at it and they saw how dangerous what the FBI was doing, that they were literally, and the CIA, that they were spying on people for having a difference of political opinion. And it is remarkable to be living in an era where the drive to investigate that is coming not from the Democrats.
Right.
It's coming from the Republicans. With the original church committee, they put Frank Tower, a conservative Republican, as co-chair with Frank Church to protect the intelligence services. That was what he was there for. He bragged about that later, that he had been put on the committee to make sure the intelligence services didn't really get dragged through the mud. We're going to see the opposite today. You're going to see, and actually it's going to be worse, because in the end, most Republicans back then were for the investigation. They just didn't want it to go too far.
Right.
You know, but they weren't saying, no, we don't need to look at this. What you're going to get today is an investigation of the intelligence services driven by the Republican Party that is going to be staunchly resisted by the Democrats, and that is going to be smeared by the same media that at one time exposed these crimes leading to the original church.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your thoughts on this, Jimmy?
Yeah, I did not know some of that stuff. I knew that we had MK Ultra programs. I knew some of the extent of what they had done. He's definitely speaking the truth. I mean, we definitely ramped up everything that the CIA could possibly do in 2001, 2003, in between those areas when the Patriot Act got passed. So, this is what government does when we let them run rampant, and
Yeah, and here's the thing: when the Republicans last year were raising Cain about the Disinformation Governance Board, it's like, okay, stop clock gets the right time twice a day, but it was such massive public pressure. But I couldn't believe that there were a lot of liberals that were kind of like, well, I don't know. I'm not mentioning any names, but I have some friends that are so-called civil libertarians that they sort of just didn't really care about the urgency to not have to try to fight this Disinformation Governance Board. But there was enough pressure to kind of that the Biden administration backed down. But it had been going full swing. Not for 1 minute do I think that a President Ron DeSantis would would go and tear it down or dismantle this disinformation governance board. I believe someone like Ron DeSantis would put more teeth into this, and I mean, yeah, I do believe there are libertarian-leaning Republicans that do mean this, but some of them they're acting like civil libertarians and ACLU members right now. It's because the Democrats are in charge. They would change their tune, and the Democrats who are in charge now, they're partisans, and so yeah, it's okay when they're doing it, but then they're going to go and be principled when the Republicans are doing it. It's all a big sham, and it's all about hypocrisy on both sides.
Right, absolutely. I know it's a nutty, crazy chess game that I have never learned before.
Yeah, it's a chess game that I don't want to learn to play. I believe in being consistent.
Right.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. I can't find the video, but there was an Alex Jones video from 2010, where he was saying he and Michael Savage. It was in reference. He figured that Sarah Palin was going to become president in 2012. So Alex Jones said, "Well, when Bush was in power, Michael Savage was on the side of tyranny, and I was on the side of liberty, and because I opposed Bush, and now that Obama's in power, we're both on the side of liberty. But when Sarah Palin becomes president, Michael Savage will be on the side of tyranny again, and I will remain on the side of liberty because I am always on the side of liberty." You know how Alex Jones says.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought about that.
No, that's so funny because I was just watching something last night. AOC, I guess, did like a live stream or something on her Instagram, and she was saying how proud she is that the Democrats are all coming together right now, because when they're in charge, it's always going to be this infighting of trying to get things passed here and there. But then when the Republicans are in charge, she really loves the fact that they all come together, because all they need to do is pick off like 4 or 5 Republicans and they can get things passed instead of having the infighting. And it just made me think, like, well, then why were you fighting while you were in power? Like, this doesn't make any freaking sense to me. You guys are just playing this stupid, like, who can lose first chess game. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I wish she would have stuck to raising that ruckus that she talked about on the Jimmy Dore show several years ago. Yeah, I remember when she said that. It's time to start a ruckus. That's what I loved about her in the beginning. And between Force the Vote and between the rail strike vote that she voted to make them go back to work, I mean, I'm like, okay, she's part of the problem now.
Absolutely.
Breaks my heart to say it.
Yep. We're all getting really hard lessons right now, so.
Yeah. So it's making it easier to not even be a part-time Democrat, because I voted for Democrats on a part-time basis for many years. I can't even do that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been staying a Democrat so I can be a part of the caucuses, but I don't even really want to be a part of a caucus anymore. Like, it's not even worth it.
Yeah. I hate to call her the AOC of the right, but the only reason I'm going to put her up as the AOC of the right is because she's as polarizing, and in that regard. Even though I'm mad at AOC, she's not as evil as this person I'm going to be putting up. But I'm talking about no other than Marjorie Taylor Greene. And
I thought you were talking about Lauren Boebert.
Well, she actually found out that she's a little bit less evil than Marjorie Taylor Greene. She did denounce Marjorie Taylor Greene for going to that white nationalist conference hosted by Nick Fuentes.
Okay. I was thinking she was like the AOC of the right because she wasn't like voting for McCarthy like her and Matt Gaetz were, holding out their votes and stuff. So.
Well, I would say that the Marjorie Taylor Greene is because she's sort of a social media type in the way that AOC is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sort of the way I kind of interpret it. So anyway, the Amazing Atheist decided to have his take on her, and it was pretty funny. So I'll share that.
All right.
Let's get the screen working.
Tell me Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't look like the monsters in Attack on Titans cartoon.
She's scary looking, I'll tell you that.
For real.
Yeah.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, probably one of the most regressive but backwards voices in the halls of politics. She is the chick, by the way, who is behind saying that like the Jews have lasers in space that they use to start forest fires. That she had to apologize for and do a bunch of Holocaust sensitivity training kind of hoop. She denied the election results, of course, pretty standard for their type. She cheated on her husband. I think she's actually getting a divorce from her husband. For a woman who's constantly belittling trans women, you know, she looks more masculine than most of them. She's using her power as a national figure and an elected official to make this an issue. This is what she's doing. Instead of focusing on any real problems that might exist in this country, this is where her head is at, okay? At Walmart, many of your customers in my district are reaching out to me about sex toys being sold in your Dalton store. They're extremely upset and absolutely horrified that sex toys are being sold openly right next to children's toothbrushes. This is grooming. I mean, this is hyperbole is what this is. These are the sex toys being sold, okay? So if you are a kid young enough to be brushing your teeth with a Dora the Explorer toothbrush, what are the odds you're going to have any fucking idea whatsoever what any of this is? You're not going to know what any of this crap is. It's not like they got a bunch of bad dragon beetos there and there's like a big horse beet flopping into the aisle or something, right? Like, this is just like some very discreetly packaged little boxes that show a silhouette of something that is like not phallic at all in nature, really. Like, there's no penis that's shaped like any of these things. You know, if you have one of these little deedly wops hanging off your junk, you got some problems, you know what I mean? By the way, do children typically go and buy their own toothbrushes from the store, y'all? Can you let me know? Have you ever seen a toddler waddling through the Walmart looking for the toothbrushes? Has that ever happened? I don't think that happens, you guys. And I mean, like, even if there was some kind of actual problem going on here, to treat this as though it's tantamount to grooming is fudge. Absolutely just like hyperbolic beyond the stars, okay? I mean, like, we're supposed to be scandalized at this. Like, okay, here's one that kind of, if you know exactly what a deed and balls looks like, kind of looks like a deed and balls. Or the silhouette of one. Also looks like it could be 1,000,001 other things, including like a pickle, right? Sex lube, little sucker. They got all their little sex toys. This is like middle America, Walmart, boring, bland, vanilla-er than vanilla sex toys on display. But because they happen to be next to these children's toothbrushes, like, what do you think's going to happen? Do you think, like, the evil degeneracy of the fucking, you know, sex toy for fucking bored soccer moms is going to, like, taint these toothbrushes or something? Like, give me a fucking break. It doesn't stop there. She's not content to simply write that one dumb tweet. She, of course, has to, like, continue. By the way, Walmart did cave, and no, this was a mistake. We're so sorry. Wah, wah. Walmart, you're a bunch of pussies, okay? Selling sex toys openly where children are exposed to them is wrong, inappropriate, immoral, indecent, perverted, shameful, and incredibly harmful to children. Why is Walmart participating in the grooming and sexualization of children? Is this in all stores or just Dalton? So,
what's your take on this so far?
This is crazy. He's absolutely right. This is hyperbole. This is not grooming. This is probably just a kind of PR thing that, you know, marketing thing that Walmart is doing, just like how grocery stores put milk in the back of the store, so that way, because everybody always needs milk, so you always got to go through the entire store just to get to the milk, and there's always the middle section has all these buy this and get this free, so that way you buy other things on the way to get to milk. This is all marketing stuff that Walmart does. It's really funny. And anyways, even because he is wrong. I have taken my kid to go get her toothbrush so that way she can pick out her own toothbrush when she was little. But for one, the kid is not looking up that high and not looking around at other things, especially something that's not very interesting to them. And step two, if my kid even asked what those things were, I would just tell them that they were back massagers. Like, you just tell her they're massagers. They're massagers for your back, for people who have bad backs.
Yeah, it's so discreet and everything. I mean, they were things that you would see in an actual sex shop, there would be she would have a point. But no, those things are so innocuous, and the boxes are that way. I think that it was just a big coincidence that it happened to be by there. I think that when people were doing a reset or something, they didn't think anything of it. I think it was a coincidence, and I think it's something that somebody happened to find. They're like, aha, we can make a culture war issue out of this. And that's what I think happened.
Yep, I know. And I agree with the hot retarded chicks. Like, where is this Walmart that sells this stuff? Because I have never, ever in my life gone to a Walmart and seen sex toys ever. And I am always like, trying to find, the sex shop that I can go to all the times whenever I want, like whenever, things are running down and I need a new one or something. Like, where's this Walmart at? Please, somebody let me know where this Walmart is. That'd be really
tell you a funny story. When I went to England in 2006, and I stayed at the Holiday Inn, and so I was trying to go down to I forgot the name of the train station, St. George's train station. That's what it was. As I was trying to go down to the train station, they had a sex shop on one side of the street with a lot of the bondage. I mean, like stuff that you would just not even see in most, most cities in the United States, like in an open street area. And there would be like a church right across the street from there that Church of England parish right across the street, and it's just kind of like, I'm like, okay, this is interesting here, I mean, well, luckily this church is liberal anyway, so maybe they don't care, But I'm just kind of like, but you just would not see that anywhere in the United States, right across the street from a church.
Right.
Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting, noticing that when I was there back in 2006. So, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to make a culture war issue out of nothing. And here's the thing: she's one of those folks that join in with Governor DeSantis declaring war against Disney World, but the dirty little secret is that Marjorie Taylor Greene owns stocks at Disney. Or just, yeah.
Wow.
So, and I mean, either she try to hide that, or she's too stupid that people wouldn't find out about it. Which it could be both. I'm willing to say both with regard to her. So we'll let.
I'm with you, hot chicks. Church bondage. I think the church is involved. I think they probably go across the street and buy this stuff.
Well, yeah. They wear
it under their Catholic priest clothing.
They do have those habits and the collar and all that. Yeah. Whatever people are into,
That's right.
All right. Let's see.
So first of all, we couldn't even bother to research if this was like typical shelf placement. Second of all, selling explicit sex toys in view of children, I could see okay, yeah, I mean, that's clearly a deep. That's clearly a butthole or whatever. But this discreetly packaged bullshit with a faint silhouette of something that doesn't even look like a deep is somehow this gigantic issue that's gonna the kid's gonna see that and they're gonna turn into a sex maniac and go on a deep spree when they can come of age or something. No, that's imbecilic thinking, and you don't even believe it. And also the idea that it's harmful to them. What child is going to be harmed by this? Explain to me the mechanics of when I was 7 years old, my mom took me down my toothbrush aisle and she said, "Pick your toothbrush, Billy." And then next to the toothbrushes, I saw these weird things and they made me cry, but they also made me feel funny feelings in my pants. And now I want nothing more than to rape and murder. It's like, what? I don't think that's accurate, man. I don't think that's how it works. I don't think that's how human psychology is, brah. I don't care how big your corporation, how much money you have, how powerful your lobby is, how big and powerful. By the way, very clumsy use of two powerfuls in a row there. That's just bad writing. How big and powerful your political influence is. I just don't care who you are. I will always firmly stand up for what is right and do everything I can to protect kids. I want you guys to file this away in your memory bank, okay? I want you guys to file this sentence away in your memory bank because it's about to get a shoe drop in a second, all right? Marjorie Taylor Greene, quote, "I will always firmly stand up for what is right and do everything I can to protect kids." That is her words, all right? Remember that for later. It's going to come back. I cannot comprehend how we got to a place where people think they have the right to force sexual adult issues on children. This is not that place. Some discreet sex toys being accidentally displayed next to the kids' toothbrushes is not an example of forcing sexual adult issues on children. You idiot.
And she is an idiot for sure. She's definitely an idiot, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I want to share another story real quick. You might find hilarious. I actually find it hilarious after all these years. When I was growing up, I lived in a little town in northeastern North Carolina, and even small towns had an X-rated theater. A drive-in X-rated theater and things of that nature. You could actually go into a grocery store and buy porn magazines. So we were at my mom and dad. I was like 6 years old. Mom and dad did some shopping and I was walking around whatever. And I ran to the magazine section and I picked up a Hustler in 1975. I was 6 years old. I picked up a Hustler and I started thumbing through there. And at my 6-year-old mind did not know why I was fascinated by the photos, but I was fascinated by the photos and I was really, really digging it. And my mom happened to walk by and she saw me looking at Hustler at the age of 6. And all of a sudden, she just grabbed that magazine out of my hand and she was telling me, that is dirty smut. You're not supposed to look at it. And she gave me the Puerto Rican Roman Catholic guilt trip from hell. How dirty that is. You're not supposed to look at that. You're not ever supposed to look at magazines like that. That's a sin, and God could punish you for this. And everything. I'm looking back at it and laughing, but I just thought, my gosh, she just went nuts.
Yeah, well, she wants to sit there and call herself a MAGA Republican, like Make America Great Again. If she really wants to go back to the good old days, I remember back in the good old days, VHS stores actually had a red curtain area, which had all the porn back there. And I don't care how many times my mom told me, do not look behind that curtain. If there was even a sliver of a crack where that curtain wasn't fully closed, I was looking in that thing, okay? I don't care how young I was. My curiosity was not going to stop me. I was going to tell my mom that I was going to look for a DVD or for a VHS and for a movie. And I would go and try to walk by and sneak and see if I can get an eye in at like a boobie or something on a VHS like cover of a tape. So, man, these people, man, they don't even want to start. They don't even want to start.
It was just, I don't know. It's funny though. I mean, just kind of funny how people will overreact over things and everything like that. So just looking back, I just laugh at it. It's just like, wow, and I don't know. I just thought that was funny. I guess we should go with the next story because we're into an hour with this program here. So let's see what would he got. Speaking of the devil, we got Ron DeSantis, who I like to call the Augusto Pinochet of Florida. So and Farron Cousins always has a thing to say about Ron DeSantis. So we will let him talk about Ron DeSantis. Let's see. Okay, take it away, Farron Cousins.
Ron DeSantis is, of course, the Republican frontrunner for the 2024 presidential election. Hell, based on polls right now, he's the front runner overall because he wins against Biden, too, for the 2024 presidential race. So the wind is at DeSantis' back, right? Everything is going right for Ron DeSantis. But there's trouble ahead. A new report from the New York Times explains it better than I've seen it explained anywhere, and it's something that I honestly hadn't even thought about yet. So let me distill what the New York Times wrote this week. They talked about how Ron DeSantis is not one to shy away from media. Unless, of course, that media is not a very friendly conservative outlet. Ron DeSantis, who is now entering his 5th year as the governor of the state of Florida, has never sat down with any of the corporate media outlets, NBC, MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, CBS, ABC, hasn't sat down with any of them to do a long-form interview. And in fact, he typically bars reporters from national news outlets that are not conservative outlets from asking questions at press conferences. The few times they've been able to kind of weasel their way in and ask questions, he immediately gets angry and flustered and shuts them down, screaming things like, "Stop, stop, stop," and then say that you're trying to cast aspersions. Sorry, read that wrong. To put it another way, he hates non-friendly media, and he is not willing to talk to them at all. Now, contrast that with Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump spent every day demonizing the media, talking about how horrible they are. They're enemies of the people. He even said that again just a couple weeks ago. But he will still sit down and do an interview with ABC when they come calling. He'll do an interview with HBO. He'll do an interview with CBS. He'll do 60 Minutes. He'll do CNN. He will go against people that he absolutely despises because he loves that media spotlight. And then afterwards, he'll talk about what a horrible human being that person was and everybody should hate them. But he'll do the interview and he'll get that national spotlight and be seen by an audience who isn't tuning in to conservative media. DeSantis doesn't do that. And if you're going to run for president, you kind of have to go on media outlets that most people watch. I know Fox News has the biggest cable news audience out there, but let's be honest. When you break it down compared to the demographics of the United States, Fox News doesn't even have 1% of the U.S. population watching them on any given day. Not even 1%. And they're the most watched. So you can take your Charlie Kirks and your Candace Owens and your Ben Shapiro's and your Newsmax and One America. They're below Fox News. So they've got even less than 1% of the public watching them. So 99% of the public out here is either not watching the news, which is common, or they're watching other corporate news outlets that DeSantis refuses to go near. So they continue to bash him. So if he wants to run for president, he's going to have to suck it up and put on his big boy pants and go talk to some adversarial media. It's what he has to do. Because if not, most of the country is going to look at him and be like, I don't even know who this guy is. Of course I'm not going to vote for him. All I've seen is bad things. He hasn't explained himself to me. So Ron DeSantis has a very real media problem. And I know some people are saying, but Farron, what about the debates, right? Oh, the debates, he'll be able to introduce himself. Yeah, good luck with that. If you've seen Ron DeSantis debate, you know why that's a death sentence for him. So even though he is the front runner, he's got a lot more problems ahead of him, and I don't think he's prepared to address those issues. This is Hattie.
Okay, what's your take on that?
That's a good take on Ron DeSantis. I didn't know that side of things. All, the mainstream media, because I try to cover the news like you do, I see a lot of mainstream media stuff. And a lot of them are actually saying, like, DeSantis is a real, like, good contender against, for the Republican Party, and that the Republican Party is really wanting somebody like him to get away from that look of Trump all the time. So it's actually pretty interesting to see that side of him. I didn't know that he's refusing to go on any news media show, and I didn't realize that he's a bad debater. I can't wait to see him debate people. This is going to be a really fun election year, I think. I think it's going to be another good shit show. So I'm excited.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis start hurling insults at each other on Twitter.
Right. I can't
God.
wait to see Trump go off on Biden. That's going to be hilarious.
Well, that's the thing right there. I mean, Trump welcomes he welcomes the critics. Say what you will about Trump. There's a lot about Trump that I don't like. There's policy issues. Good 90% of his policies suck, obviously.
Yeah.
But you know what? He's got one thing that Ron DeSantis doesn't have, and that's, I mean, he's got a comedy show. Yep, he's got a comedy show.
Yeah,
and Ron DeSantis lacks that.
Yeah.
He, in that regard, it looks like Donald Trump has a better chance of becoming president than Ron DeSantis.
Right.
And thing about it is, at least with Donald Trump, I mean, I don't want Donald Trump back in the White House, but at least with Donald Trump compared to Ron DeSantis, he's so incompetent and so goofy that he will be so polarizing that really, honestly, not a whole lot can really get done. I think that's part of the reason why we had slightly less wars during his presidency. It wasn't because he was a great president. It was not because he was a peacenik. It was, Glenn Greenwald said it himself. He had his people, and he had the Bush-Cheney establishment people in the White House. He had the quote-unquote resistance, and everybody was kind of at each other, fighting each other off. So there was not a whole lot of things that could function. There was a lot of dysfunctionality, and with the dysfunctionality, the United States couldn't get a lot of things done, and it kind of slowed the U.S. down foreign policy-wise, and the U.S. was slightly by accident, slightly less aggressive by accident.
Right.
Yeah. But he done some, Trump did some shitty things like kill Qasem Soleimani, which is Bush-Cheney level war crimes right there. So, and I'm saying that the world was at peace, but I'm just, but Ron DeSantis is a normie, and if he becomes president, everything he combines everything that I despise about Bush and Cheney and everything that's real and imagined about Donald Trump, and combine it together, he'd be a disaster,
Right.
and he won't be funny when he's doing these fucked up things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It'll be fun of a show.
Yeah. So let's see what we got here. Next item. Let's see here. Oh, good one. Yeah, Jimmy Dore's on tour, so Aaron Matei is kind of substituting for Jimmy Dore. I saw Jimmy Dore a little over a year ago in Raleigh. He played at the Charlie Goodnight's. I met Stephanie, but I didn't meet him after the show, but I did meet Stephanie. So anyway, let me go ahead and play that video. Oh, where am I? Okay. All right. Okay. We'll get started right now.
Everybody, it's the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm Aaron Mate here with Americans comedian Kurt Metzger. And remember headlines like this: how Russia helped swing the election for Trump. A meticulous analysis of online activity during the 2016 campaign makes a powerful case that targeted cyber attacks by hackers and trolls were decisive.
That's actually toned down from the thing that people actually said directly, which was like, Russia hacked the election.
Yes.
And I would go, what do you mean? They hacked the machine? I'm like, you think all these people are going to vote for Hillary, and then that's what I was saying to them, and they just focused on they hacked the they interfered.
Yes. So headlines like this were commonplace after Trump's victory, where Russian trolls had brainwashed millions of Americans on social media into not voting for Hillary Clinton and electing Trump. Well, guess what we get, 6 years later? Here's this new headline from the Washington Post. Russian trolls on Twitter had little influence on 2016 voters.
Well, they did just a little more meticulous research than the meticulous research she said in the...
Here it is. Russian influence operations on Twitter in the 2016 presidential election reached relatively few users, most of whom were highly partisan Republicans. And the Russian accounts had no measurable impact in changing minds or influencing voter behavior, according to a study. Now, notice how even the first sentence contradicts the headline. The headline says Russian trolls had little influence, right, in 2016, which implies they had some influence. Well, the sentence right here says they actually had no measurable impact in changing minds or influencing voter behavior.
You're not supposed to keep reading after the headline.
Key findings of the report: only 1% of Twitter users accounted for 70% of the exposure to accounts that Twitter identified as Russian troll accounts. Highly partisan Republicans were exposed to 9 times more posts than non-Republicans. More key findings: content from the news media and U.S. politicians dwarfed the amount of Russian influence content the electorate was exposed to during the 2016 race. There was no measurable impact on political attitudes, polarization, and vote preferences and behavior from the Russian accounts.
How did anyone think that? How did anyone think that there's all these people that would have voted for Hillary but switched to Trump? How would you ever think that?
Because they were in a cult called Blue Anon. And Blue Anon, to explain an unwelcome development, which was Hillary losing, had to find an excuse. And one of them was to blame Russian social media posts.
I mean, even the people at the time were like, it's not that Hillary's so great. There's a whole bunch of people I knew that were all in showbiz and they're like, but come on, not Trump. I know you don't like Hillary. And then afterward, we're treating this lesser of two evil as if Christ was just re-crucified.
Oh yeah. My personal sense coming out of this is that this got way overhyped. Josh Tucker, one of the report's authors, who's also the co-director of the New York University Center, said about the meaningfulness of the Russian tweets.
This is like Spider's sense in full reverse. You're like Spidey had a sense ahead of time, 7 to 10 years after. I'm getting a tingle.
But of course, because this is the Washington Post, they have to cover themselves and still pay lip service to Russiagate. So here's what they say. But the study doesn't go so far as to say that Russia had no influence on people who voted for Trump. It doesn't examine other social media, like the much larger Facebook. And that's what they say about Facebook. Additionally, the study estimates potentially 32 million people were exposed to Russian-sponsored tweets on Twitter, whereas Facebook estimated that 126 million users potentially viewed Russian-sponsored tweets.
Your take on this?
Yeah, this kind of stuff really pisses me off because I wasn't a part of Twitter back and all that stuff, but man, that was such a big news, and to come to find out that it's not even true, it wasn't even real, it had no impact on anyone. But they made us so afraid and so scared, the whole Russia scare thing, which we're still in a Russia scare now. I mean, just because we're not, battling Ukraine or fighting with Ukraine doesn't mean we're not in a Russia red scare still. And that's all it is trying to find an evil, it reminds me of a religion. It's always you're good and somebody else is evil, and you always got to find that evil guy, and like a superhero comic book, you're the good guy and somebody else is evil. There's always got to be a bad guy somewhere, and for the last almost 10 years now it's been Russia. So it's
been about a decade. And I just remember as the 2016 election was approaching, it was a lot of rhetoric about Russia. Like about 2 or 3 years before starting in 2014 with regard to the CIA toppling the government in Ukraine and finding out about the Azov Battalion and finding out about the neo-Nazis in the military and in cabinet positions in the government. And people were actually talking about it like this is something to be concerned about. Now you sit there and you tell them there are neo-Nazis in the government and in Ukraine and in the military, and they'll shoot back and say that with their rhetoric and say, "Oh no, that it's equivalent to a bunch of knucklehead skinheads in Idaho." No, it isn't. They're actually serving as officers and cabinet ministers in the government, and it culturally throughout their society, they're praising Nazism in the Ukraine, and and I'm not sitting there rooting for Russia, although I'm accused of it all the time. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want billions of dollars to be sent when we got problems here. We have crappy water in Michigan. We have crappy water in Mississippi. Some of that billions that we're sending to the Ukraine could be sent here. But, it's not just Donald Trump that they linked Russia to. They linked Russia to Bernie Sanders. They linked Russia to Jill Stein. And Hillary Clinton tried linking Russia to Tulsi Gabbard. I make jokes about Tulsi Gabbard sometimes being Russian because a lot of people are obsessed about it. It's kind of funny, but it's a little dangerous for her sakes, considering that she's now a colonel in the U.S. Army. I mean, I do have concerns for her safety, even though I do get a little bit irritated with her change in politics.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, critical thinking. I'm outside and it's raining right now. Sorry about the sound in the background. It's just rain.
So anyway, yeah, I just, and I just refuse to sit there and engage in Russian derangement syndrome. And that's what we've been dealing with for the past, stretching almost back a decade. Yeah. Well, play a little more of Aaron Mattei.
Do we have a vaccine yet?
So
exposure to Russian tweets?
Well, so here's a headline. This is an example. So this figure gets spread around a lot. Russian influence reached 126 million through Facebook alone. That was the headline for the New York Times back in 2017.
How many more people is that than like Jimmy Fallon or Colbert reaches?
But even so, look, even that figure of 126 million, it's a complete lie. It's fake news. And we know this because there were studies put up by the Senate a long time ago, which few people actually read, but I was one of the few people who did. And I wrote about this back in 2018. And I wrote an article in The Nation magazine called "New Studies Show Pundits Are Wrong About Russian Social Media Involvement in U.S. Politics." And what I did was just looked at what the Senate's own studies said. And this is what I found. The Senate Commission reports from the University of Oxford and the firm New Knowledge,
That's that.
who've been very busy, do provide the most thorough look at Russian social media activity to date. The authors scrutinized the output of the Internet Research Agency, the Russian clickbait firm indicted by Mueller in February 2018. On every significant metric, it is difficult to square the data with the dramatic conclusions that have been drawn. And that's my polite way of saying that this is all bullshit. When it comes to Facebook, check this out. The studies repeat the widespread claim that Russian posts reached 126 million people on Facebook. But that is, in fact, a spin on Facebook's own guess. This is what Facebook actually said when Colin Stretch, who is a Facebook executive, testified to Congress in 2017. He says, "Our best estimate is that approximately 126 million people may have been served one of these IRA stories at some time during a 2-year period between 2015 and 2017.
Now we know how he got the name Stretch. It's a bit of a stretch there.
According to Stretch, posts generated by suspected Russian accounts showing up in Facebook's newsfeed amounted to approximately 1 out of 23,000 pieces of content.
There is no firm, suspected, may have been. There's not any firm language in any part of that.
No, of course, it's all it's may have been exposed to this content once over a 2-year period, but that's not how the New York Times and the rest of the establishment media reported. They said that Russian influence reached 126 million through Facebook alone. And there were a million headlines like this because this was not a Russian interference campaign. This was a Russiagate interference campaign to make people scared of social media memes on Facebook when there was no evidence for it at all.
I'll bet you, like how with LSD, remember, what was the CIA project where they just drug people with LSD?
Oh, yeah.
Knowledge.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is, but that, they were, Russians are doing this.
Yes.
So we got to see if we can control people with LSD, their mind, because Russians are going to get it. So this nonsense of Russia changed a vote, this dumb scam, I'm sure somebody's got a program to all the great social media things we see now. I'll bet you it's the equivalent of LSD. We've got to start controlling people's minds with social media.
Hell yeah. And who came up with this theory that these Russian posts brainwash people? It wasn't Twitter, it wasn't Facebook, it was Democratic operatives who then pressured Twitter and Facebook to validate their theories that they concocted. And that's newly revealed in the Twitter files and the Facebook revelations were known before. So this was another Democratic Party conspiracy theory.
Who was the blonde?
Well, thing about it is, with regard to this whole thing, do I think personally Russia did they get involved in any level? Maybe, but not necessarily cheering for Clinton or Trump, but to maybe cause havoc, but no more than any other country. And the United States is no stranger to trying to go into other countries to disrupt their elections. It's just what the United States likes to do. What is your take on this, Jimmy?
Yeah, I like how you tied it all back around, even with the due dissidents and what they were talking about earlier with the LSD and the MK Ultra and the CIA and how they're now the government's the same. Probably the CIA, fucking Fed is probably doing the same thing now with this whole Russiagate thing. Just got these Ponzi political regular people or Twitter people doing it. Doing the hard grunt work for them. So it definitely, that's what the CIA does is tries to figure out how to control people into thinking something that they want to think. People don't think that people don't think we're in a George Orwellian 1984 book, but we really are in a goddamn really familiar, very close way. We really are.
Yes, I say make George Orwell's 1984 fiction again. That's should be the motto. Make his work fiction again.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So we'll go with the next story here.
Nikki, I just have to say hi to Nikki really quick. Hi, Nikki. I love you.
Hey, Nikki, how are you? So, the next story is a very kind of an interesting story because, in my opinion, now on one hand, well, I'll share the story in just a moment. Let me do that real quick, and then get to that story here. Let's see here. All right. Alrighty. I'm kind of sloppy how I do my little, getting into each story here. Okay. All right.
It's all good. It's all good.
There we go. Ironically, there's a lot of irony with Donald Trump. So, Donald Trump and abortion and and anyway, this is from Kyle Kalinske. So I'll go ahead and play it.
Old Donnie is continuing to piss off virtually everybody. His approval rating is down at 30%, 31%. He's hiding at Mar-a-Lago and playing golf while annoying more and more people by the day. So this is in Newsweek. Anti-abortion group pressures Trump to embrace firm stance. The blaming of the abortion issue by former President Donald Trump as the reason Republicans underperformed in the 2022 midterm elections is receiving pushback from at least one conservative anti-abortion group. Trump deflected blame for the performance of his party in November by saying, "It wasn't my fault. Republicans didn't live up to expectations." Fingers have been pointed at the former president for endorsing losing candidates in major high-profile races, including Herschel Walker, Carrie Lake, Tudor Dixon. It was the abortion issue poorly handled by many Republicans, especially those that firmly insisted no exceptions, even in cases of rape, incest, or life of the mother, and that lost large numbers of voters. Trump wrote on Sunday on Truth Social. Also, the people that pushed so hard for decades against abortion got their wish from the U.S. Supreme Court and just plain disappeared, not to be seen again. Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America, issued a rebuttal to Trump, highlighting the group's expectations for Republican presidential candidates moving forward. Quote, the approach to winning on abortion in federal races, proven for a decade, is this. State clearly the ambitious consensus pro-life position and contrast that with the extreme view of Democrat opponents. The organization said Monday in a statement, we look forward to hearing that position fully articulated by Mr. Trump and all presidential candidates. There was also a profound midterm lesson for future federal candidates. Those who adopt the ostrich strategy on abortion lose, it added. The ostrich metaphor refers to those who pretend certain things don't exist, burying their heads in the sand as an ostrich would. Pro-Life Flag Project, a nonpartisan anti-abortion group with the goal of uniting the broader anti-abortion movement under a common banner, called Trump's comments unfortunately accusatory, partisan, and misguided. The group acknowledged that more work needs to be done, but that the movement has been loudly and joyously celebrating that victory since June. Nearly all members of the pro-life movement acknowledged the need for life of the mother exceptions, such as in the cases of ectopic pregnancies. The organization told Newsweek in a statement, this is evidenced by the fact that every abortion ban passed in pro-life states since Roe's reversal has included wording to allow for abortion in those rare but tragic cases where the mother's life is at risk. So anyway, they go on here. The bottom line is they're pissed at Trump because Trump said, he finally spoke on, hey man, your candidate sort of shit the bed. He comes out and he's like, bro, you can't blame me. I didn't even do anything wrong. The real problem was abortion. And, because of the abortion issue, we ended up not doing all that well. And then he tries to put himself out there as the moderator by saying, hey, I'm kind of in favor of exceptions for life of the mother, rape, and incest. And all these people who aren't, well, that's why you lost.
So what's your take on this, Jimmy?
I mean, of course the Republicans are these anti-abortion, pro-life, like old Reagan Republicans and classical Republicans are going to eventually go against Trump. This was bound to happen. People don't realize that before Trump was a president, he was a reality show host. He had multiple wives. You think he wasn't cheating on them? I mean, come on now. Look at the whole thing with Stormy Daniels. You think that was a one and done thing? I even know personally that him and Melania have not slept in the same bed for a very, 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 very long time. They sleep in separate beds. So just knowing that inside stuff alone, of course he's okay with abortions, and of course he's okay with, all this other, things that are a little bit more progressive than what the Republican Party thinks. It's just so fun. It's actually kind of funny to me to see them all going against him now, because I get to sit around and say, I told you all so. Of course this is going to happen. He's a reality show host. Come on now. He's from Hollywood.
I never thought he was a Nazi or all this crap that they said he was. I didn't want him in the White House, never want him, don't want him in 2024. But the thing is, I knew that he was lying to the right wing when he all of a sudden said he was pro-life and all of that. He did weasel his way out of same-sex marriage debate by saying it's a settled issue. We know that he doesn't give a damn about that issue one way or the other. Neither with the mayor, what's his name, Rudy Giuliani. We know they don't give a damn about that issue. And because of the part of the country that lived, liberal New York. Even the Republicans don't care about those issues. And so he grifted and had to, and really the joke is on the right wing people who claim that he's a born again Christian. That makes me laugh because I've seen memes out there where I have Mike Pence and Donald Trump praying, and I have people that I know that they're like Trump simps. They're like, oh, two great men of faith showing their faith in God. I'm like, you expect me to believe that Trump is a deeply devout man of God? I mean, come on now. So I don't think he gives a shit about the issue of abortion one way or the other. I think he probably favors it mildly, and but the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade is the biggest reason why there was not a red tsunami. Abortion is gone, but it did prevent the Republicans from doing a super takeover in Congress.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like he's right too. Trump was right. Like it is the Roe v. Wade thing that helped them not get as much wins as they wanted to. Like that whole Roe v. Wade Democratic let's ask for campaign money and vote for us thing actually kind of worked a little bit for them. Not fully to what they wanted, but it still worked a little bit in their favor to not get as many Republicans in. And Trump is right. They just, just like the Democrats, the Republicans can't take criticism at all whatsoever. They'll never take blame for it, which just fully means that the, face or the body majority of Republicans are narcissists. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll probably with the time factor, we'll go with the next story here, and that will be left populism with Ron Placone. He's on generational change with Jen Perlman, who ran against Debbie Wasserman Schultz in 2018 in the Democratic primaries, and it's like she kind of teases everybody whether she's going to run again or not. But anyway, we'll let her and Ron Placone, kind of hammer out the details about left versus right populism. Okay, all right.
I always say anarchy is a lot like ice cream. There's so many different flavors. You're bound to find something you like, and which is true, because it runs the gamut from mutualism, which is very far left, to like ANCAP, which is like very far right. Right-wing populism, if you look at the history of populism, like a really good reference, I think, is Thomas Frank's book called The People Know. Right-wing populism is actually an oxymoron. It's not really a thing when you look at what populism actually was. That term's been kind of reassessed. It means different things to different people. I'm not opposed to people using it now. It's just the world we're living in. Like, people use it all over the world. Like, even, I was just in Italy, you'll hear different things, labeled right-wing populism there. So I don't know. I know that it is honestly like a result of our post-modern world, but I also think it's, I think part of it is a result of the Overton window in the United States is so freaking limited. Yeah. That people just start making shit up because we all need something. So, I don't know. I'm always asked, well, what exactly are you? And if I had to
what
pick...
Are you? What are you?
What
to
are
me,
you?
To me, you're a populist left. But yeah, what are you? Well, how would you describe
that
yourself?
tracks. I think like leftist would be like the most simple way, populist left. If I had to pick one... I think socialist is definitely me. And I think as far as like transitioning the United States away from capitalism, I think a market socialist model would be the best way to go. Realistically, I would actually like to be a little further left than that. But, if we're being realistic, how to transition out of capitalism, I think like a market socialist model would work here pretty well, actually. So I guess that's what I am. But
I think we conflate economics with governance in terms of what's left and right. Like what our political left and right is in this country. I've had people tell me you're so left, and I'm like, you have never even met the left. You've not seen the left. If I'm the left to you, you don't even know what that means. So like when we say left and right here politically, we think red, blue, Democrats, Republicans, like that, and or we think socially liberal, more socially conservative. So like when I hear the term populist right, what I noted that to mean, like when I talk to people like Osiris and people, what I think of are people that do believe in labor and populism and that type of economic justice. However, socially and in other ways, they tend to be more conservative as opposed to people more like us. That's what I would think. But I think the common denominator being the populism. But what Ron is saying, I believe, which is true from a, I guess, theoretical Marxist kind of perspective, populism and right, it is an oxymoron, because the concept is when you're on the left, you're about the proletariat. Like the left is where it's, and I'm not saying communal in terms of communism, but where it's the power of the people. And the further to the right is generally more authoritarian.
Okay, so it depends on what spectrum we're looking on, right? Like we're kind of conflating economic and government systems. That's all I want. Like that, I think, is where it gets complicated for people.
What's your take on this, Jimmy?
Yeah, I can kind of see what she's talking about, because if you think about it, a democracy is where every vote counts, everybody votes, one vote for one person, and that's it. And a republic is more of a where you have a huge large group of people, and one person goes and represents that large group of people. So I can kind of see what she's meaning in there, and with the whole populist theory that the populism can't coincide with the right because it has a little bit of a more authoritarian feel to it. So even just in the basics of learning what democracy and a republic are, just your basic high school definitions of it, I can definitely see what they're meaning there. But I mean, who would you think is a good example, even if you could put populist right together? What would be a good example to you? Because I can't think of very many or any.
Let's see, a populist right. It's hard to say because I don't think you can achieve a populist right in America in the way you can in some other countries. I mean, in Europe you can, because the Overton window economically is further left. And so you can be right wing in Germany or in Norway or even in the UK or in Italy or in Greece or in Russia or wherever, Hungary, and you get and even apartheid Israel, you can be right wing and favor universal health care, for example. And here in the United States, you try getting somebody on the right to support a labor union or a minimum wage increase or heavens forbid universal health care. They'll be like, we ain't gonna have any of that. I mean, you might get them to be populist on some issues like the drug war if they're libertarian, or if they're the war foreign policy issues, or maybe the things like that. Maybe some civil liberties related social issues. You may get some libertarians on board, and that'll be the closest thing. But when it comes to the economics, they're nowhere to be seen. In my view, that's how I'm looking at it.
Right. Well, a lot of them don't understand how the economy actually works anyway, so it's to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's the country's just so far to the right. I mean, even in Canada, there was a small party called the Social Credit Party, which was a right-wing political party, but they did favor a safety net, and they did favor the safety net and unions and things of that nature, but they were deeply socially conservative, and they morphed into the Conservative Party in Canada today. So that would be the closest thing here in the Western Hemisphere, in Anglo America. But in the United States, it's just not happening. I mean, it's just not happening. The right they're so married to Reaganomics and to the right of Reaganomics that they have an attitude. Anything that even begins to look like social democracy or socialism or economic populism that has the stench of FDR's New Deal, they're not having it. And so I think it's impossible to be populist on the right in the United States. So I guess we'll let them actually, we're running out of time there, so we'll probably go with that final story is probably what we'll do. So let me do that. And somebody that they like to beat up on a whole lot, but she can hold her own. And I'm talking about no other than Brianna Joy Gray, and regarding Twitter and regarding, Elon Musk and some of the hypocrisy of Elon Musk. He is not a gatekeeper, in my opinion, for free speech, but so we'll let this conversation commence.
Do you want to explain what the Elon Jets account is, Evan?
Yeah, for sure. And oh my gosh, I saw someone tweet earlier, how can Twitter be the main character on Twitter every day? But like it is, right? It's just we can't look away from the car crash. But okay. So the Elon Jet account was an account that had been around for years, I believe. That basically just tweeted publicly available flight data about Elon Musk's private jet. And this is something that like aviation enthusiasts have been doing for years. It's totally legal. It's protected by the First Amendment. There's actually like literally like a court case that says this exact type of thing is protected by the First Amendment. But there was clearly supposedly some kind of incident. Musk has now just like gone on a rampage around this. And to me, it's like actually sort of like poetic in a weird way, like that this is how his like speed run of like content moderation and like so-called free speech absolutism has like ended, is just like getting to this point of like, oh, actually online speech can lead to offline consequences, and like that's why it's worth having like a thorough, robust debate about, you know, all of these things, and they're not maybe quite as simple as the current owner of Twitter thought they were going to be when he
Right. So what's so funny about some of this Elon Jet stuff is that, for one, he does this for a number of celebrities. His coverage of where Taylor Swift's jets, and I think some of the Kardashian jets have come and gone, have led to the slate of stories that we saw some months ago about their environmental impact and whether or not people like, you know, Taylor, who kind of present themselves as, you know, left-leaning and progressive in those areas, were really living as they preached. He is a fan of Elon Musk, and at one point, I believe Elon Musk asked him to take it down and offered him $500 or $5,000, and he asked for, I think, $50,000, and Elon Musk declined and decided to spend $44 billion on Twitter instead, apparently, just to go after this guy. And Elon had tweeted in the past, you know, I believe in free speech so much that I would never ban anyone, even the person who is like putting my private information out there. It's public information, but never mind. And lo and behold, now this person has been perma-banned. People who want to share links to Elon Jets' other social media accounts where the publicly available airline information is being disseminated, those are unshareable or not allowed to share those links. And then the incident you alluded to was that apparently one of Elon's children was in a car that was followed or tracked in some way, and he used that as the justification for why he shut down the Elon Jet account. Of course, where his car isn't where his plane is. Those are two different things. People have made the comment, if you want your flight information to remain private and not publicly disclosed, fly commercial and not your jet. I mean, this is all coming back to the fact that this is publicly available independent flight data. That's the crux of this problem. But now here comes the red wedding bit. The red wedding bit is that all of these people who have tweeted out tweets that are basically questioning the premise of Elon Musk saying that this is all about his kid being tracked, those are the accounts, the reporters who have had their accounts shut down. And it is so dissonant that the hypocrisy is such that even Barry Weiss, who herself has gotten a lot of criticism for the Twitter files disclosure and whether or not she's the best person to do it because of her own kind of free speech hypocrisy in the past with her protesting kind of pro-Palestinian professors at Columbia and all of this stuff when she was in college. Whew, again, this rabbit hole is so deep. Okay. That even she has tweeted criticism of Elon Musk. She says the old regime at Twitter governed by its own whims and biases, and it sure looks like the new regime has the same problem. I oppose it in both cases, and I think those journalists who are reporting on a story of public importance should be reinstated. Are you surprised by that, Evan?
I am surprised to find myself, for perhaps the first time ever, agreeing with something that Barry Weiss to say. There's a lot of
Team Barry.
There's a lot of.
What's your take on that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely correct. This is exactly what happens when a rich guy gets too much power and he throws a temper tantrum. You know, we're just seeing from an outsider perspective of what he can do to a Twitter account that he doesn't like, or Twitter accounts that report on something that he doesn't like. So, you know, imagine what he does, you know, in his own business, at his own jobs and stuff, when he goes and works with people and he's having a bad day or he wants to throw a temper tantrum. This It's this rich boy temper tantrum with too much power. It is what it is.
He spent $44 billion for his own personal safe space, is what he, and under the guise of being for free speech. And, and I've seen leftists after leftists, you've seen it too, getting their accounts taken away. What's his name? Garland Nixon getting his account zapped. People like that. We know him. Well, I think you know him better than I do. Joe STFU shitlib. I mean, he's had his account zapped a couple of times. These are the people they go after. The Ben Shapiro's and the what's his name? Steven Crowder's and the Dinesh D'Souza's. They're left alone. They were left alone when under the previous regime, in my view. So they go after the left. The censorship is at the left, and I just want to tell people, never trust a billionaire. All this debate about how awesome it's going to be when he takes over Twitter, or what have you. I mean, yeah, he's not a social reactionary in the way that some people on the right wing tends to be. He's kind of like Trump. He doesn't have that kind of ideology, but he's also like Trump, very thin-skinned. And we've seen what he's done to Twitter. He's done to Twitter what Trump did to the United States, and it ain't good.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we'll let them.
I think your audio just went out.
Did it go out? Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Go ahead and keep talking.
Okay. All right.
Oh, there you go. Now I can hear you.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, I guess we'll let them converse for a few moments, and I guess we'll be wrapping it up shortly. Hold on a second here.
Like the worst person just made a great point. Like things happening with all of this stuff, but to me, like what this all comes down to is like the bigger picture that, like, in some ways she's not wrong. Like, whoever's in control of the platform makes the decisions, and the previous regime, if you want to call it that, we actually have a fair amount of insight into how they were making decisions, and we can disagree with those decisions, but you can sort of see, like, it's a deliberative process. They have these different policies. It's like kind of bureaucratic. And now it's sort of just like, literally, I'm imagining like Musk is lying in his bed with his phone being like, ban these people, reinstate these people. I don't like, maybe unban that person. I was drunk and like changed my mind. Like, whatever it is. And like
Twitter polls. He had another set of Twitter polls. Should I reinstate these people? Right. And the Twitter poll came back affirmatively, yes, you should unban these people immediately. And he goes, wait, there were too many options in that poll. Let me do another poll. He does another poll and the results are the same.
Yeah. But so it's like, to me, in the end, it's like, what we see here is like, we can debate like what content moderation rules should be all day, but in the end, as long as we're on like OPP, other people's platforms, we're never going to have like real free expression and rights. And like, that's why, I think so many of us are so passionate about fighting for policy that leads us to a world where we can all abandon this hell site and like actually have better places to go. And I think like we're seeing even some of that now, like, as part of blocking these quote unquote unsafe links, it seems that Musk has blocked effectively all links to Mastodon from Twitter, right? And so that's like a place where a lot of people were going. And now suddenly Twitter is effectively engaging in a totally legal, but very questionable anti-competitive practice that's making the migration of people who would like to switch from Twitter to another platform more difficult. And that's the type of thing that big tech companies engage in all the time, is making it harder to leave so that you have to kind of stick with the few that we have. And so
what's your take on that, Jimmy?
Yeah, no, that's why we are fighting against, for antitrust laws and all of that. Ron Falcone was fighting for it this summer and continues to fight for it to this day. Is the monopolization of companies in small few hands, and then they get control and they get to run things and tell people what to do and what they can't do. So, and then we only get a few options and then we have to listen. I mean, look at what's going on with YouTube and all of us, you know, within the last couple of weeks. We've all been hit with strikes for 2-year-old videos and not able to stream, and now we're not able to curse throughout our own videos like we're not grown-ups or something. And I mean, where else do we have this kind of, you know, viewership where people come to on a regular basis? Not very many other places, not very many where it has the same, you know, at least company like YouTube does. So, because people are creatures of habit, and it's very hard for people to trust other sites as well because they don't want to give their information out to many other things. And it's just this whole circle of crap that, yeah, companies are, you know, a part of as well. So, we'll see it.
Yeah, and a friend of mine last year told me about an alternative to Twitter, and I think I believe you have some inside info about this because I've seen some of your chats with John Kirikou on this subject, and I am really impressed with platforms like which is not really available yet, but Panquake. And I can't wait to see people's reaction when they get knowledgeable about Panquake, for example.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, and I want people to know about that platform because it's just I like to see that as to be one of the many alternatives to Twitter and Facebook and all these other platforms where not only are you not censored, but you're not. They don't bug you with advertisements, and they don't sit there and track you down and all of that. So
right, I know, and it's so funny. Is like our government is trying to ban TikTok because it's the Chinese government that's getting our information and not them. It's like, ooh. It's like you guys already have like most of our information, and now you're not gonna let China have it. Like, come on now. This is like now you guys are literally openly battling for our information, for our data. It's crazy.
Well, I'm not on TikTok, but if I was on TikTok, what could the Chinese learn from me that would be a threat to the national security of the United States?
Exactly.
I don't get that. I don't get that. That's fear mongering.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're getting my good editing skills. I'll tell you that much.
But
damn China.
I do have a solution if they really want to do something about that. Here's a solution: let the United States buy TikTok, nationalize it.
Nationalize, yeah. Well, that's the problem. They would never nationalize it for one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
TikTok, I don't know. I think they tried to buy it, but I don't think China's even selling it. They're like, nah, it's ours. We want this shit.
But what I think the solution, if what needs to be done, obviously throughout all social media, they need to regulate it as a public utility to protect content makers, and even protect the platforms from frivolous lawsuits. Because I mean, yeah, even though some of them are scummy, there are some lawsuits against them. They're kind of unfair. If some content maker do something kind of goofy, they get to be the fall guy for it, and whereas they shouldn't be regulated as a public utility. I think that would, from what I can know, I think that is the solution.
Yeah, we just got to get enough people to demand freedom of speech and get people more to feel like it's a freedom of speech platform, more like like people standing on podiums in the middle of a square, like the public square, that kind of thing. We got to get the mentality of people changing to thinking like that instead of thinking it's just some unfettered capitalistic private corporation that some person gets to make the rules because it's their company. Of course, us liberals and us lefties, we go around and say that to the right wing when they scream no free speech. We go, well, it's a private company. But we need to all start learning, like, no, this it kind of technically is a place for us to be able to speak freely. It should be, at least. So yeah, you're very right.
I say free speech rights before property rights. That's one of my other mottos right there in that regard. Now we have here on the chat line. We'll do the chat line real quick, and then we'll wrap everything up here and all that. And so Warren is here. He said, "I thought you were running their stream. That's live right now."
That's when you were playing Two Dissidents.
Yeah. Yeah. So so we have Snipe Hunter who helped me out earlier this evening, earlier this afternoon with my little internet crisis that I was suffering from. I was going nuts with the internet switching on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see here. Hot retarded chicks. She's referring to the ball from the Amazing Atheist video, and she says she wants one. Okay.
Yep.
And let's see. We need critical thinking. How are you doing today? Let's see here. All right. Let's see. Oh God, this is hilarious to hear Willie talk about this too. Oh yeah. Let's see. Church bondage regarding my trip to England. Let's see. Marjorie Taylor Greene supports pedos. Oh my fucking God. Yeah. Oh, about that regard, I just meant that she buys stocks for Disney, who's accused of grooming. I don't believe Disney grooms kids like
they do.
I just want to make that clear.
They do.
Yeah. Huh?
They do. Disney
They
absolutely grooms children. Yes.
Well, I don't really watch Disney, so no. Let's see. Hustler, hell yeah. Yes. Let's see here. Mind control. Yep. Let's see here. Little Will got a Willie. Oh gosh, I know what that was about. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let's see. Curiosity. Yep. Let's see here. All right. Let's see here. All right here. Let's see. I hear. Let's see. I hear like there's a horse walking around in the background, or dirt, or maybe a fireplace sound when Jimmy and Willie are talking. Oh yeah. She explained what's rain and hell. So it kind of sound like that.
I haven't heard the horse one yet. Usually I hear it sounds like popcorn popping or sizzling bacon. I haven't heard the horse galloping yet. That's new.
That sounds kind of like some horses trolloping around.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hey, Nikki, how are you doing today? Nikki, I apologize for not showing up at the stream half the time. I'm usually asleep when you're streaming. Same thing too, Jimmy. When I'm not up and I'm not watching your streams in the afternoon, I'm usually sleeping.
Yeah, no, you're good. That's what we're here for. We're here to cover the mornings.
Let's see. Hi, future babushka. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Let's see. I'm not even a mom yet. Let's see. I got a feeling.
Sorry, I had to do that.
Let's see. I got premonitions. Let's see here. I got a piano that's been drinking. All right. And let's see. MK, LSD, CIA for sure. Well, about the LSD thing, I could say this. It's been a long time for me. Don't knock it. Let's see. Hey, Nikki. Let's see. Hey, love you too, Snipe Hunter. Hey, let's see. Cool. Now this is funny. Kyle Ball. I had made jokes about Kyle Kalinske. I said, he's less independent than he used to be because, she gives him the evil stares. It's like, and that's why he's evolving into a Biden bro. Shame on Kyle for evolving into a Biden bro. Let's see here. Makes jokes all the time. Let's see. Kyle seems like Crystal's son that she is real proud of, and it's hilarious. Let's see. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Yeah, he needs to give up that hair dye. That hair dye job is ridiculous on him. Let's see. Really. Let's see. Crystal and Kyle. Opulus Rex. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Did he say Ron Pecan like he's a nut? Oh gosh. Yeah. Ron Pecan. Jen and her son. I don't know who the other guy is that co-hosts the show with Jen. Let's see. I don't think that's her husband though. Let's see here. Okay, I think that we're closing in on the comments here. Warren said that Christmas tree offended him. That was funny. Let's see. Ranch with her horses. About to be asleep now. Yeah, I'll probably be asleep myself in a little while too. So that's pretty much wrapping everything up here. So anyway, everyone, I'm going to be wrapping up here. Quick announcement. If the internet doesn't fail me tomorrow at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, I will be on the Jamar Jabari podcast at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow at 6:30, I will be interviewing Russell and Keaton from Due Dissidence at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And next week, I believe at 6:30 p.m., I'll be interviewing a friend of mine in Ireland, Angie Moon. And we'll have a nice conversation about Ireland because I was in Ireland 3 years ago. So anyway, that's what we'll be talking about next week. So if y'all like what you heard, please press like and comment. If you disagree, we will have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we're the muckrakers of our time. Always reject corporate media because they have nothing to offer us. Subscribe to my channel here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and on Facebook. And also do the same with Jimmy. I will leave all her information in the description box below when I'm editing this in the next few minutes. And until next time, we will talk again. I will be wishing you all a great night, and I'll see y'all the next time I stream, whenever I stream again.